Hello and welcome aboard the Knitty Stew podcast. My name is Leanne. I am the Knitty Stew. Stew is short for stewardess. I am a Canadian flight attendant and a knitter, a felter when my projects fail. I do a little bit of hand dyeing, and basically this is my YouTube channel where I take you on the road with me, show you local yarn shops and glimpses of overnight cities that I get to stay in and have the privilege of checking out while I am on overnights for my job. Today, however, is a special episode. First of all, I have you with me in a location I've never had you in before. This is what I fondly refer to as my laundro office. It is my creative space. It was a quilting area previously, and I've turned it into all the things that bring me joy. And while it does get pretty chilly in here in the basement, it's actually a cozy, happy space. So I just wanted to welcome everyone here on the 1-year podiversary of the Knitty Stew. Yes, I'll drink to that. Today I'm having a cacao, which is from Dominican cacao extract from a local shop here that I got. I'll actually show a bit footage of it later on in the episode today. And I'm drinking it out of this super cute mug. It's got all the different cats on it. It's got the ragdoll cat, British short hair. Please don't look at my nails. They have not been done since the last episode. I'm getting them done soon. But yeah, they have a really cool Japanese store called Umomo here in Calgary. And that's where I'm podcasting from today, in my laundro office. So seeing as how I don't have a 3 a.m. pickup or wake up call or anything like that, I thought I'd do a bit of a longer intro on this episode today because there are some things that I wanted to discuss. Yeah, speaking of cats, I'll be right back. Okay, this is Quinny, and I wanted to thank everyone for your loving and very kind comments on how happy we were to get Quinny back, even though Quinny was basically nowhere. That was from the last episode. She was in the linen closet in the upstairs bathroom, and yeah, there is no door to Narnia. She was just in there. Not sure what was going on there, but thank you for all your comforting comments. One comment that I thought was really cool is that a viewer had had a similar experience where their cat had disappeared for a while and was found in a drawer, and her vet said that it might be a phantom pregnancy. So that's very interesting because Quinny just turned 7 years old. So I wonder if that's what was going on, because both of my cats are so like food motivated, and just the shaking or even walking towards the closet where their food goes gets both of them running. And so for her to not come for over 24 hours, it just seemed like something extra special was going on. But just first of all, I wanted to thank everybody for your support there. And I am so glad that she didn't get out. So that's good. I borrowed my husband's bar chair from his garage, so it's a little squeaky. I apologize for that. Okay, so today's episode, I'm absolutely ecstatic that it's 1 year today that I had an idea planted in my mind in the hypnopompic state when I'm just half asleep but not quite awake yet, and it prompted me with the idea to start this YouTube channel. So I just got up that day, plunked down my iPhone in vertical and just started chatting away. And I'm really glad I took that guidance, because, you know, here we are 12 months later, 18 episodes, 14 cities, and this beautiful community of beautiful souls. So thank you so much for everyone, and any original gangsters who've been here since the very beginning. Those of you that have found me through the algorithm along the way or been recommended by other podcasters. Just thank you. Like, this is a big thank you episode. I'm beyond, what am I trying to say? It is hard to explain to a new podcaster that they should take the leap and create a podcast if that is something that they have the desire to do, because I was expecting a lot more haters. I found just the opposite. Now, I know fiber people are the best people. That's for sure. Hands down, I know that to be true, but the #1 motivator that has kept me making content from episode 1 right till this one has been the genuine engagement and the messages and the comments. Most of them, and on a regular basis, make me tear up, because there are people who, as a result of me showing them various cities throughout Canada, say, you know, that is somewhere that I used to live and it took me down memory lane. Or my husband and I went there when he was alive and it just brought back memories. Or someone's parents had grown up in the area and they'd never had the opportunity. And that happens a lot. That really fills my soul. Those types of comments, but I mean, also the knitting comments. Like, as a result, I've been reflecting, as you could tell, which is why I'm super chatty. And cacao is very heart opening, so this could be I don't know what this episode is going to be like. On my evolution on this channel, sorry, I got Quinny hair, and as a knitter. So when I started, I was a proud monogamous knitter, and that's an interesting thing that's completely changed as a result of this channel. I've seen some of my friends who, I get the reason behind having other projects, to switch things up, and also sometimes you finish 2 projects at the same time, which that is amazing. And I also had issues with slip knit, and my SSK issues are completely resolved, and that was a result of comments telling me to check out different tutorials on how to make that a neater decrease. Like, that's one example. And also I have become a knitter for myself. So that's in like the 16 of 17 years that I've been knitting, I've been making gifts primarily. And, you know, there's a few things here and there that I made for myself. And what else has been like unleashed is the garment knitter within me. I have like wardrobe, wish list, my whole queue, things that I want to make for me. So that is a direct result of this channel and you all. And I just want to say thank you. And to memorialize this day, I thought it would be appropriate to give away a little something something. And if you've been watching since, I'm not sure what episode it was, but I made my Zweig, I think it was Kelowna episode when I had finished it. And I used this Blazing Birch for the lace portion of the Zweig by Caitlin Hunter. And I have an extra skein. This is from arcanefibreworks. Please go check out Tyler. His dyeing is like next level awesomeness. And I'd like to give this away to someone. I will tell you how to enter the contest. Hopefully I don't forget. All right, noted. By what type of a comment I'll ask you to leave below if you would like to win this. And along with that, I thought I'd give somebody my favorite tea, Bengal Spice. I can't have it all. I will share. So I thought I'd do that. And also a needle gauge from the local yarn shop, one of the local yarn shops here in Calgary that I visited today. So remind me later how to get you to enter that if you'd like to win the 1-year PODIVERSARY giveaway. And hopefully there's no more bots going on out there, but if there is, please know that I will announce the winner on the next episode, and it will not be in the comments itself. So, and if you have any questionable messages that say they're me or what have you, just email me at theknittystew@gmail.com. I did have one more reflection that I think segues into the next discussion before I get into like what I'm wearing and my finished objects, etc. And that is that on April 1st was the first weigh-in for Bustin' My Balls 2023. And I posted it on my Instagram and many of you posted as well, but my gram total of knitting was 1,657. Yay! Woo! So if you don't know what the Busting My Balls 2023 challenge is, it's trying to knit from our stash as much as we can. Tracey of OliverRainKnits and myself are accountability partners. My sister Wendy, she came up with the name. The hashtag I think is brilliant itself, and it makes me laugh. And yeah, my gram totals, they translate 10% into cash. So with 1,657 grams knit, I can use $165.70 towards more yarn, of course, or other knitting things like books that I want, patterns, anything that makes my Knitty heart happy. However, it's been a really cool awareness situation around this busting my balls, because Tracey and I have recognized that we are getting reacquainted with our stash. And that is, it's a really good thing, because at one time or another, we felt we needed something, like some sort of type of yarn, whether that was a single skein, like in my case most of the time, or whatever it was that called to us at that time. So getting reacquainted with that is very cool, and then putting that to good use. Secondly, we also noticed our patterns around when we buy yarn. And for both of us, it seems to be emotionally generated. So when we've had like a super long day, or like are upset and feeling the need to fill the hole, I would be scrolling through patterns and then click on yarn required, go to an online store, fill my cart with all the Knitty things, all the yarn, and then remove it all. Sorry if you can hear the footfalls upstairs. And for me as an addict, in many, many ways, the whole ability to pause before jumping on that instant gratification train is huge. And I'm counting that as a big win as a result of the Busting My Balls challenge. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes it's impossible to resist. So Tracey and I have also become masters at loopholes, or to make it sound really legit, we call it clauses. So we've got a few exceptions to the Busting My Balls. The first clause was the Canadian yarn clause. So we of course had to support our local Canadian wool growers and dyers, etc. We've also implemented the I had a dream about this particular color clause, and the I am a Patreon clause has been enacted as well. My two most recent clauses, which Tracey fully co-signed, the discontinued yarn and or the discontinued color clause, as well, of course, it's birthday month or what have you clause. Now my birthday is in May, and so is Tracey's, but you know, you gotta think ahead. So, okay, so there we go. Actually, that is the prompt for the giveaway of the Arcane Fibres and the Bengal Spice Tea, and the stitch or the needle gauge is, tell me if you have enacted any yarn buying clauses to stay sane during the Busting My Balls challenge. And if you could leave that in the comments below, or if you've been super disciplined, that's okay. I am just going to use a random comment generator to pick the winner anyhow, but I thought that'd be kind of funny to see how you guys are enabling yourself, or if you're staying strict to really trying to get through your stash. I just thought of another fun way it might be to enter to win the 1-year PODIVERSARY giveaway is if you would mention in the comments what was your favorite overnight city that I visited in the last 12 months, and or if you're new here, what would be a city that you would love me to visit in the next 12 months? And that would be another way to enter. Okay, onward with the knitting content. I hope you've got your works in progress or making in front of you, whatever that might be. I hope my background isn't like super distracting. There's a lot going on in this space. It's the stuff that brings me joy. Yeah, but I had no choice today. The upstairs is way too echoey and a lot's going on. And I'm here at home, right? So I don't have a hotel room to podcast from. And I thought, well, how about the laundry office? So here I am. Today I have 5 finished objects, 3 works in progress, and 2 local yarn shops. And then at the end, I also have some acquisitions as a result of some clauses. And today, without moving forward without my usual land acknowledgement, I would like to, with gratitude, mutual respect, and reciprocity, acknowledge the ancestral home, culture, and oral teachings of the Treaty 7 signatories, which includes the Siksika Nation, Piikani Nation, Kainai Nation, the Lethkestoni Nakota Nation, consisting of the Chiniki, Bears Paw, and Good Stony bands, and the people of the Tsuut'ina Nation. I also recognize the Métis people of Alberta Region 3, who also call Treaty 7 their home. I call this my home, Calgary. If you're not from here, you say Calgary, but if you're a local, it's Calgary. And I wanted to make this episode for quite some time. I've just put in little bits and pieces. I went to Okotoks, which is not Calgary, it's south of the city. And I did visit the local yarn shop, Little Bow Fiber Co. briefly. I think it might have been like episode 3 even. But today I want to give you footage of this beautiful city that I've called home since I was 18 months old. And I had a great day today. Actually, it was yesterday, collecting footage, but a little bit more today. And yeah, thank you for coming and thank you for being here. So I'll put that footage in between after I finish my finished object discussions. Before I do my works in progress, I will insert the footage from today. All right, first order of business is what I'm wearing. And I'm gonna put in, because of the squeakiness and moving this, my tripod forward and back, this is my Tolsta Tee, and I will insert a video of me wearing it and showing you the length, etc. You can basically see it from my belly button up, but it was a test knit that I was very, very fortunate to get to do for Rebecca Clow, the Crea. And you know what? I have never tested for Rebecca before, and I know I was very lucky to get to do so. And as I was saying, I'm really excited to make garments and summer items and spring items. So this is a great entry into that for this year. What it is a basic raglan t-shirt. And what I was supposed to do was use lightweight DK yarn. And so I used fingering weight, held double, and the color, was in love with the color. So it is actually BC Garn Bio Balance, which is pure organic wool and pure organic cotton. The percentage is 55% pure organic wool and 45% pure organic cotton. It's delightful. I ended up being obsessed with the look of the fabric. I will actually get up a little bit closer so you can see this green. It's called Blue Pine Tree, and wow, I only had 4 skeins of it, and then also 4 skeins of the black, which I had purchased at Hand Knit Yarn Studio in Hamilton last year. And I had it earmarked for something else, but as not a very prolific garment knitter, I don't realize the amount of yardage that I actually need, or meterage. But thankfully Rebecca had put out to all the testers, she had a mood board. And when I saw this picture, I was like, stripes, that's what I need. I want to make stripes. So I will be able to use, these were the 2 colors that I had of the Bio Balance, the BC Garn Bio Balance. And do you know that I have very interesting preferences regarding the thickness of stripes? And it took me frogging back 3 times to get the actual thickness of the main color, the green, versus the black. Turns out I like 3 rounds of green and 2 rounds of black. My husband sat there watching me knit like the yoke and then get into the body and rip back 3 times. He's like, I'm like, I know, but I won't wear it otherwise. So it was so enjoyable and so quick anyways. I like the way the collar sits, and the short row shaping on the back it's German short rows, which I prefer and love. And it kind of gave it like a square neckline. So that I really like. And again, just top down, some increasing, and you were supposed to make it cropped, or you could make it cropped. You can do what you want. That was part of the problem. It is a blank slate. You can do what you want because it's a basic recipe. So the mood board was to spur creativity, like why don't you make eyelets, or you could do texture or anything you want. The other test knitters, there was a very robust Instagram group of testers, and some of the things they were coming up with were amazing. I was like, wow. And here I am doing stripes. And also, I realized, because I was holding the strands double, it's not very lightweight. So I thought, well, that's okay. It's more of a transition piece for spring into summer. And I was visualizing those long sleeves. So here's my other discussion point around this test knit. The numbers, everything was absolutely perfect. The only thing I asked her that she could clarify would be to really describe the short rows. They were fresh in my mind because I just made a pair of socks, and it had also used double stitch and German short rows. Other than that, everything was perfect. And I worked through the sleeves and got them to, I think this is bracelet length, and I didn't like it. I was like, I really want to like that sleeve, but I don't like that sleeve. So I ripped back and I picked up my sleeve and I just worked it mid-bicep, right? So that's what I did. And then I blocked it and left it to lie flat, and the fit is great. Here's where I'm like struggling. Again, because I held the yarn double, my sleeves feel bulky. It's just like a weird little thing, and I thought, you know what, I don't know if I'm going to frog this or if I will wear this. I tried wearing it with a shirt underneath to see if that was cool, but I couldn't figure out right away why. I'm like, why don't I love this? And that's what it was. It's like there's something very important about having very good underarm comfort. They weren't too short, they weren't too tight. Picked up the stitches, worked magic loop and tried it on. I'm like, yeah, length is good, not too tight, but there's like bulk there. And I don't know, that's just my, I got issues about that, and I'm just learning that as I go. But it was super quick, super fast. And the test knit ends May 4th, so I'm assuming the pattern will be out very shortly after that. I didn't see any issues with the size that I made, and I actually made the size 2. And all my notes and everything will be on Ravelry, and my project page I'll link below. So thank you to Rebecca for letting me test knit, and Tolsta Tee. Wardrobe change. Oh, hello there. Long live the Dickie. This is my third Dickie neck warmer. Color me happy. Whatever you want to call it. I whipped it up because the lovely Sue McCord on Ravelry sent me a kind message saying, I'm having issues with your notes, which I put on my project page. This pattern is based around the structure of the Winter Wisps neck warmer by Drops, and I found that difficult to understand, so I kind of made my own little modifications and easier to understand, but my numbers were still wrong. Thank you, Sue, for reaching out, and I'm sorry, friends, for that. So I was like, I'm gonna grab a skein of Malabrigo worsted, and this is my color. Oh my gosh, it was giving me so much spring vibes. It's actually called Verde Adriana. And how glorious is this grain? Oh, I'm just loving it so much. And I took pictures as I went, and I watched the numbers as I went. So they should be good now. I'll put this project page link below, of course. And what I did, if you haven't seen this in past episodes, I use a US 8, which is a 5mm. I'm trying to get better with Canadian needle sizes. You think I'd be good at that, but for whatever reason, those don't click for me. I'm all American needle sizes. Anyone else like that? Yeah, so 5.5mm, and I think 76 stitches for the collar, knit 2, purl 2. And then I do some increasing for this shoulder section. And then you switch to the main body and you knit it flat on US 9, which is 5.5mm needles. And I worked the front first. I think it's 15 inches. And then with the yarn that's left over, the goal was to only use one skein of Malabrigo worsted, and I still have a teeny tiny little bit left. And then once I'm done the front, I would switch to the back, the two purl two, and steam blocked it and let it dry flat. And I love it with the jean jacket. Love it. And so that's the third one. So my oldest sister has one in navy blue. My second oldest sister has one in gold. Now I have a green one. That leaves my sister Wendy, my sister Mona, and my brother Kevin. So I have the idea of doing like a Christmas Dickie photo. We'll see. I mean, you never know. They might get behind it. But I guess either way, they're so fun to make. It takes literally a night to make it, and it's so fun to work with Malabrigo worsted. This singles yarn, the pilling will, I know, eventually be there, but again, this color, yeah, love it. So that's the Dickie Verde, and there will be two more. My sisters actually picked their colors for theirs, but I haven't talked my brother Kevin into it yet. We'll see. I'll mention it. So that's finished object number 2. In the last episode, I showed you a skein of yarn that was very special. It was from Crux Fibres, and it was spun from a mature wether, and that was a sheep called Mick, who was loved and cared for by the lovely Sierra of Crocus Country Shepherdess, which is a farm just north of me up in Caroline, Alberta. And Mick passed away in 2022, and so the yarn that I purchased was milled, and then I purchased it from Brittany at Crux Fibres, and it was the last of his wool. So I wanted to sit with it and decide what Mick wanted to be. So I cast on for 2, I thought for sure he wanted to be a couple of fingerless mitt patterns that I tried. Neither of them worked or felt or looked right. So I stopped. I frogged both of those projects, which were lovely in themselves, and I will eventually make some more fingerless mitts because I love fingerless gloves. But it turns out Mick wanted to be a bandana style cowl. This here pattern is called Birds and Ships. It's by Caitlin Hunter of Boyland Knitworks. And I first saw this on the lovely Amber of a Lovely Yarn podcast. I'm going to put it on for you. Amber looked so good in hers, and I don't know if I would have even looked twice at this had I not seen it on her. And I immediately bought the pattern and queued it and saved it. And turns out it was meant for this particular wool. Now, the comments on these projects, there was quite a few made, because I think this pattern is maybe from 2018. I forget. But most of the comments said that the pattern calls for a US 4, which is a 3.5 millimeter needle, and that it was way too tight. So I went up to a 3.75 millimeter US 5, and I worked it in that. And then I went up to a US 7, which is a 4.5 millimeter for the ribbing section at the bottom. And then I also made a tassel. Okay, which I think might maybe a little bit long. I don't know. What do you think? I haven't decided yet. But when you, like, it's kind of like bangs, right? If you cut them too short, they'll be like, boing. So anyway, I steamed it, and this is so comfortable. Like, can we just talk about how cozy this yarn is? It's very special, made with blends. So mix fleece, I have it right here, or not fleece, but the yarn itself. It's the Fall Clip of 2022 Gotland and BFL crossbreeds. And it's 70% mick, 20% wool, and 10% mohair. I soaked this and was concerned that this was going to be itchy, honestly, because I'm not sure. It's, you know, you don't know until you try something, and no, not at all. Now I soaked it before I started knitting with it, just to make sure that it was open and had bloomed as much as possible. And then I of course blocked the garment after I finished knitting it. This is going to get a lot of wear. I do not want to take this off. I probably should have put it on last so I could have kept it on. Maybe I will keep it on because it's still pretty chilly here. Spring has not sprung in Calgary. About the pattern. Okay, so Caitlin Hunter and her patterns are, I love them. This one I was struggling with, and I shouldn't have been, because this is like a very small lace repeat. Okay, there's not a lot to have to concentrate on. However, it is charted, and the chart is on the one side, and the written instructions for the other stuff, which there is other things going on. There's yarn overs and there's increasing and decreasing, is on the other page. So it was like, I don't know, maybe I was just too tired to be working on it. But the other thing that kept tripping me up was the yarn overs before, or sorry, the yarn overs are right where I have my little stitch markers, and they kept slipping underneath it. So I was like, okay, just make sure that there's 11 stitches in the lace panel. This is one of those projects, again, that is not perfect, but it's perfect from afar, and I love the look of this so much. And the one other thing I wanted to mention, so yeah, it starts, you knit flat to begin with, then you join in the round. I really do like how it's got that rounded look at the back here. I decided, I was like, okay, I'll be careful, and I will use 2 needle sizes up to cast off. So I used a US 7 4.5mm needle, and it was still too tight. So the cast off was like basically cinched up. And I took that all out and re-picked up the stitches. And then I used an Icelandic Bindoff to make it, I've tried to use an Icelandic Bindoff before for a shawl at one time, and it was too flared. But I think it worked out really, really well on this. And after it was blocked, I left it overnight. And then I watched, this is my first tassel. So I watched a video on Very Pink Knits on how to make a tassel. And it was very simple, wasn't that hard, but it's, again, getting the right length. And I don't think it was optional for me to add this tassel, because it holds down and gives it a little bit of weight, so that it, even with that Icelandic Bindoff, I think it would have cinched up a little bit. So just something to keep in mind if you decide to make birds and ships. Okay, my fourth finished object is my fourth Swift hat. I've made the Swift hat by Shannon Cook 3 other times. This is the number 4. And I used the yarn actually recommended in the pattern, which is Quince & Co. Chickadee. This insanely awesome reddish orange color is ringing my bell right now. It's called Peaks Fairy. Peaks Fairy. The hat itself is just a lovely textured design. I think it's perfect for spring. That's kind of what I made it for. It is designed to have some slouch, but I wanted to try it in a beanie style this time. And it only ended up using 39 grams. So I have quite a bit left. I still have a full skein. And what I wanted to say also was that me personally, I enjoy a snug beanie. So the pattern calls for a US 2.5 for the brim and a US 4 for the body, which fits me fine, as you can see. But I wanted it to be a bit more snug. So making this in the future, which I already am, I'm going to go down 1 needle size for the brim and 1 for the body as well. I felt like a bit of a boss changing up the decreasing, which I did to make it look a little bit more similar to the bumps and the texture. I've listed those modifications in my pattern notes. Sorry for using this artificial light. I really prefer natural light, but here we are. Regardless, this is very vibrant red. And yeah, it was a fun, wonderful little hat project for spring. I'm summoning spring I wore it all over Halifax Harbor. And again, the thank you episode. Thank you for all your kind comments. I wore this when I did my very first of hopefully a few more instrumental cinematic videos of just beauty as I see it in some of the places that I get to go. And your comments, again, it was like 7 minutes. The footage I gathered was, I felt like hours. And yet when you condense it down, it ended up being about a 7-minute video. So thanks again for supporting me in that endeavor. And I love this Swift hat. So big fan, would recommend, definitely. It's from the book Journey, which has other patterns with the collaboration between Shannon Cook and Jane Richmond. Both are Vancouver Island Canadian designers. But you can buy the hat pattern all by itself. Okay, one more quick little finished object and then I will get on with the Calgary content. I finished a pair of socks. Happy dance. Yeah, hello. Again, what podcaster takes 3 episodes to talk about socks? So I will make it fast. This is the Wintery Woods socks. Hello, there it is. By Nancy Wheeler. Knit Sip Happy is her podcast. She is a superstar with a pattern in 52 weeks of socks. And this pattern has maybe sparked a little sock knitter in me. I don't know, but it's because it's knit toe up, which I really like. And I liked the formation of this short row shaping, which was German short rows with the slip stitch heel. And you measure your foot to when you start doing the gusset, which I really liked. And the texture, of course, which I've shown before, of these little, what looks to me like boughs in the winter. And that little texture is also on the back of the leg. So, okay, that's enough of that. And yay, there will be more socks in my future and more toe-up socks. All right, so without further ado, let's get into some Calgary yarn crawls, showing you a couple of local yarn shops and then footage and some fun facts about my hometown. I knew I wanted to start this tour in one of my favorite parts of town. This is the community of Inglewood. Inglewood has the distinction of being Calgary's oldest neighborhood. It's immediately across the Elbow River from Fort Calgary and east of the Stampede grounds, and it's near the Calgary Zoo. This community was established in 1875. It is a very pedestrian-friendly neighborhood, which so much to offer in terms of restaurants and shops and small businesses. There's also really good burgers at Inglewood Burger, so you could stop in there, or you could send your family to Spalembo's, which is a locally owned Italian eatery, while you head over to Stashlounge with your empty suitcase. It's right on the corner of 9th Avenue, and it's got what you need. once you've had your fill at Stash, one community over is lovely Ramsay. It's where my friend Talia, who toured around with me today, was from, and she grew up in the area, and it is just so cool. There's so much to see, including Calgary's newest dye studio. What a special shop this is. They had their grand opening in January of 2023, so just recently, but the lovely people here at Ancient Art Studio, they are not rookies by any stretch of the imagination. Wendy, the front desk gal, and Steph, the senior dyer, and of course the owner, Caroline, they are absolute gurus, fiber specialists. And they have something really cool going on. I got educated. I did not realize how very specific Carolyn is in which mills that she works with around the world, and the local ones that she can. She works with 6 different mills and brings in the coolest combination of yarn. Just absolutely stunning colors. She has some extremely talented dyers working for her. She also has some blends of wool that you won't find anywhere else. I am really going to stop in there and start visiting them on knit nights. They have knit night on Wednesday and I think Thursday afternoon. Look at that red. Oh. There are in fact 6 yarn shops in Calgary. There's Stash, there's this Ancient Art Yarns dye studio, Gina Brown's, Pudding Yarn, Yarn Twisters, and Little Bow Fiber Co. I hope you find your way to one of them, and or all of them if you visit Calgary. Calgary sits at the confluence of 2 beautiful rivers. This is the Bow, what you see here, and we also have the Elbow. We are only about 100 kilometers or 60 miles west from the beautiful Canadian Rockies and the township, world famous Banff. Many of the Indigenous names for Calgary refer to where the Elbow River turns abruptly north into the Bow River, making an elbow-like curve. In 1875, when the Northwest Mounted Police arrived on the scene, they named the place Fort Brisbois. Actually, it was one guy, Ephraim Brisbois, who just took it upon himself to name the post after him. This changed a year later when Colonel MacLeod visited his cousins and the beautiful estate on the Isle of Mull, Scotland. And Calgary has been known since then as Calgary. We've also earned the nickname Cowtown for this area's rich and continuing status as a cattle ranching capital. And of course, the Calgary Stampede, our 10-day world-class rodeo that's been happening since 1886, when Calgary was little more than a Canadian Pacific Railway station, a Northwest Mounted Police post, and about 1,000 people. We have certainly grown a lot in the 21st century. Calgary has a current population of 1,640,000, making it the 4th largest city in Canada after Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver. That's a lot bigger than when I first got here. There was only 443,000 residents, so it's almost quadrupled in size. We definitely saw a lot of growth after becoming the first Canadian city to host the Olympic Winter Games in 1988. Canada failed to win a gold medal that year, actually. The Canada Olympic Park seen here is built on the western edge of the city, and there are other facilities that still are in place today in nearby Canmore, and Kananaskis is just west of the city. If you do find yourself on the northwest edge of the city, I had to plug in one of my favorite communities. We lived in the northwest for 20 years, and just down the hill from us is the community of Bowness. Bowness has some great little cafes, one of our favorite coffee shops, and there's a place that I spend a fair bit of time at. Like, I will drive across the city from the southeast to visit the place called the Light Cellar. Now, I'm not endorsed by any means by this business, but I have been visiting there for quite a while, and as a flight attendant, it's really important for me to keep my immune system strong and to make sure that I'm running on all cylinders. And this place is a superfoods store. I think they were well ahead of their time. They started as a little hole in the wall, and then they moved farther and farther down Bowness Road, Main Street, and they have just amazing extracts and tinctures and spices, and they just curate the best of the best. The owner, Malcolm, is a wonderful small business owner. He calls himself a hippie CEO. There's no doubt about it, there is a lot to see and do in Calgary and area. I actually found a really cool video as I was researching this, and it's put out on the YouTube by Brittany Morgan. I'm going to link it in the notes descriptions below because she lists 11 free things to do in Calgary, and that's a really great way to see the city without, you know, breaking the bank. Save your money for yarn. I also recommend checking out Heritage Park. It's a historical village. People there are dressed in costume, and you get to see what pioneering life was all about in the early days of Calgary. The Calgary Zoo is also a phenomenally beautiful zoo. Not sure how you feel about them or enclosures and whatnot, but they have done a great job keeping the habitats as close to natural habitats as possible, and it is worth a trip for sure. Plus, there's penguins. You see here one of our iconic pieces of architecture. It's the Peace Bridge. We also have another iconic structure called the Calgary Tower. You can see the city from 360 degrees. There's a panoramic view and a restaurant at the top. It is 190 meters up, or 626 feet. My favorite way to see the city by far is floating down the Bow River. Grab yourself a floaty of some kind or rent one from a local company with your life jackets on and just take in the beauty. I hope you enjoyed my footage of Calgary. It was overwhelming, honestly, as I was trying to plan this video. How do I show everybody all my favorite things and all my favorite spots? And I'm still discovering a lot about my city. As I get older, I can appreciate how much the city has changed and grown, and yet it still has that hometown feel. Anyway, yeah, so if you come here this summer, send me a message. Let me know if you check out any of the spots that I mentioned, and maybe we'll even get to meet up to have a coffee and a chat and maybe knit a little bit. We'll see. I know flying will be very busy this summer, so yeah, who knows? Either way, I hope you do come and check out Calgary. My second half of the podcast, I've decided I'm wearing Mick the rest of the time, and I have 3 works in progress to show you. The first of which will be a quick little chat because there's not a lot to show. So this is Swift number 5, only this time I've gone down the needle size. So this one I will be making with the US 2, so 2.75 millimeter, and then the body on this Swift is going to be a 3.25 millimeter US 3. And I really enjoy how quick it goes, and what helps me, and if you've never heard this before, is that I separate each lace portion of any pattern or cable portion or anything that requires concentration. I separate it by a different color so that I can just focus on the 14 stitch repeat, 14 stitches at a time. I mentioned this already on my last episode, but I love working with this Quince & Co. chickadee. It's so springy and sprongy, and squishy, and relatively good price point. Work in progress number 2. Not very impressive. This is tiny little beginnings. This is another pair of socks, and it's toe up. This is going to be a pair of acorns socks, which is a pattern by Amanita. I've wanted to make this pattern for a while, and then when I got this glorious Beaver Lodge colorway, my artificial lighting, I don't know if it's doing this any justice, but this colorway is a deep brown, lovely, lovely yarn from Crux Fibres. This will also be another entry into the low mileage wool make-along that Brittany is hosting. I'll put the hashtag here, and this will also be an entry into that. This is her untreated Corriedale sock, which is in, again, I think I said Beaver Lodge colorway. It's hand-dyed in Whitehorse, Yukon territory, and I love the texture of this pattern, and this color is just perfect. I actually bought a sock set to make the Ovis socks by the Petite Knitter, and I still have the other colorways for that, but I also had another skein of Corriedale in the Beaver Lodge, so I figured I'd go for it. But Nancy Wheeler, you've turned me into a sock knitter, and toe-up sock knitter, and magic loop. Who am I? My final work in progress is, it's been getting all the love, I can't put it down. This is the Anchor shirt by Petite Knit, and yes, it's black. I'm making summer tops in black. I can't stop knitting on it. Oh my goodness. And I did a try on. I will post a photo of that, and it seems to be fitting really well. Zooming along, I'm going to make it my magic measurement. Oh, I wanted to talk about that real quick. I had questions about, like, what are these magic measurements you're talking about that Andrea Mowry mentioned? And then I had to think, I'm like, was it Andrea Mowry that said that? Those magic measurements? What I do know is that I absolutely love, I'll Knit If I Want To, her weekly Q&A. I learned so much from that. And I think it was her mentioning that to get your specific garment preference lengths and sizes, neck to hem, yoke depth, you know, underarm to hem, those kinds of things, is to measure a garment that you love and just go with those measurements. And I started with a sweatshirt of mine, and I went with that, and then I knitted the Zweig by Caitlin Hunter, and I can't say enough about the fit of that. Is just, it's the best. So those are my magic measurements. Like I hold everything up to that, and I make sure that they stay similar, because I don't want anything too short, too cropped, too long, that kind of thing, or too short under the underarms. So yeah, so here we are. This is the size 3 that I'm making, which is a medium. It does go up to 5 double extra large, which is a 60.5-inch chest. And oh, it's addictive. It's just this ribbing, and it's so fun. You do some increasing, and all of a sudden you're splitting for sleeves. So I kind of tapped the brakes. I'm like, I better slow down on this a little bit, but I don't know why I did that. I just did. And I'm using the suggested needle size, which is a 4mm US 6, and the yarn recommended, I even have that, which is Lena, Sandnes Garn, in the black colorway. This is Francesca of An Italian Knitter podcast. It's her desert island yarn, which is very appropriate, she said, because not only would it be the yarn that she would want on a desert island, but it is also very, very perfect for warm weather. It is 53% cotton, 33% viscose, and 14% linen. And I'm actually really surprised with this, because it has 6 strands. I don't know if they're actual plies, but those they're so twisty. And I thought, oh, I'm going to be splitting this like crazy. And I'm able to split to go pretty swiftly on this sweater, and it's not splitting, which is very interesting, because it's got the look of like, oh, this could be a culprit. Can it? I don't know. Like one of those where you're like constantly splitting it, but that's not happening. and I seem to have quite a lot left, so maybe instead of the Tolsta Tee being my long sleeve transition shirt, maybe I will make this one long sleeve if I have enough yarn. We will see. So that is everything that I'm working on and everything that I've completed. To finish the episode, I do have some acquisitions, all based on clauses and the ones that I'd mentioned earlier. Actually, that's not true. I actually have a gift that was given to me by Caroline at Ancient Arts. I could smell this for days. The first acquisition is this incredible bulky weight yarn by Bryncelyn Estate Fibres. I hope I said that right. If I'm not mistaken, they're in Halifax, or no, somewhere in Nova Scotia, not Halifax. It's a bulky weight yarn, Gotland/Finn wool yarn. Oh, it says made in Alberta, so maybe I'm wrong about the location of this incredible place, but I undid it and wore it around my neck. Now look at those fibers. Would you be like, oh, that's gonna be scratchy? Not only does it smell incredible, and I don't get super duper excited over bulky weight yarn anymore, but I'm excited about this. And I'm so thankful to Caroline for this. She's like, give it a try, have a skein. So thank you. I could see a Phaedra cowl in my future, or a Phaedra hat. We'll see what it wants to be. But yeah, that was my first acquisition and it was a gift. Yay! Next up, I enacted the discontinued yarn clause, and I got on the internet. This is me on the internet going, oh my gosh, what? Olan she's no longer going to be dyeing or producing her gorgeous yarns. So I got online, and the Knitting Loft in Toronto was blowing out their Olan singles. Singles, you say? Look at this. This is Ponderosa colorway. Oh, it's glorious. It's like kind of a low-key pink, but it's got all the rusts and those bright pops of green and the dark rust black. And if you look, it's even got a little bit of green in there. So yes, I needed to have some more Olan because I really, really like this yarn. I had some of the stock yarn, 2 different skeins of it, and it just goes on forever and ever. 366 meters for 100 grams of superwash merino. I have a plan for it. So I've earmarked this, and I've had in my queue for quite a while, the Sunset Highway by Caitlin Hunter. I feel like I've talked about Caitlin Hunter like 700 times in this video. I really want to make that sweater top, and she actually uses Olan singles in it. So I got 3, and then I kind of paired it for the rest of it. I had everything was kind of too matchy, and so I decided I'm gonna wait, because Caroline said that she would get a blue, she'd be dyeing up some blue fingering that would work perfectly to make, I think that yoke, while it would be fine all matchy, I think it needs to have that blue. But that's just what I've got in my mind anyway. So yes, I did acquire these under the discontinued yarn clause, but I do also have a project in mind, and I will be casting on once I get the perfect blue for this, that showstopper part of that sweater. Let me know if you've actually made that Sunset Highway, because there's just something about that. I look at it all the time. Like, I have it on my iPad, and I look at it. It's not my screensaver. This is. Okay. This amazing project bag was made by my yarn bustin' buddy and good friend Tracey of OliverRainKnits. Look how talented she is. She gave one to me and one to Brittany of Crux Fibres when we went out to Swiss Chalet. And I was like, you are highly talented. Yarn's gonna fly out of here. But I want to show you the inside. So I'll have to empty out the yarn that's in it. Hold on. So it's got a metal piece that gives it structure, and it just holds open like that. The side is perfect. It just held 2, 4, 6, 8 skeins of yarn. And look at this beautiful fabric. How lucky am I to have a multi-craft jewel friend. It's also got little pockets in here. And it's got cats on it. So thank you to Tracey for that. She doesn't make them or sell them on Etsy or anything like that. She's just a maker, and when she's having fun and gets inspired, she'll do quilting, or she'll do embroidery, or she will bake, and she has multi-talents. So that was an acquisition gift. And I enacted the discontinued color clause, and I will show you why. Okay, here we are. This is half. I could not believe when I learned that Brooklyn Tweed was discontinuing this. I have a love affair going on with Cinnabar, and this color is being discontinued. So I may have got the last 8 skeins in Canada. I'm not sure. But I do have a plan for it, and I can show you that because oh, it's so nice to be in my space and not be in a hotel room trying to pull stuff out of my suitcase, because I can show you right behind me what I plan on making with this, and you'll see why I had to have it. From the Knitted Kalevala, Saulaulu sweater. So definitely don't know how to pronounce that. Sorry, my Finnish friends. But that is what I've got these skeins marked for. And the awesome Sarah Fiber Trek just blew my mind, and I don't know why I never thought of this, but she's going to, the patterns in this book are primarily knit from the bottom up, and she's going to deconstruct it and knit them from the top down. It didn't occur to me that I could do that. Of course I can. And I can do those things. Thank you to Needle in the Hay for having shelter and having the discontinued colorway. They were very friendly and very nice, and they shipped it very quickly, as did the Knitting Loft. The last tiny little acquisition that I have, I'm hoping that there'll be some remarks about these. I got them on Amazon, and maybe that wasn't the best place, but I wanted to try the Norwegian thimble for color work. They sent 2 in one package, so one's a little bit smaller, because man, would I like to knit faster, and would I like to have perfect tension, making fingering weight, or any weight I guess, color work. So they were very inexpensive, but the one video I watched was by Dank Fiber. Hers had the bottom one was like almost touching this part, like was almost flat against her finger. So I don't, yeah, maybe I'll have to twist them a little bit. I think they were like a total of $8 with a $1 off coupon, so $7. But would I be so excited if I could figure out how to do continental knitting with the use of this thimble. So we will see. And that is it. That is everything, everybody. That's all I got. I hope you enjoyed my hometown episode of Calgary. Thank you so much for being here this last year, and I hope to see you again and continue to see you as we cruise around this country together on the Knitty Stew.